Good evening, everybody, in this brightly lit room. It's like afternoon. Adequate notice of this meeting, as required by the Open Public Meetings Act, was provided through the posting, mailing, and filing of the annual notice of regularly scheduled meetings of the Town Council on December 13, 2022. The notice was on that date posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, provided to the Westfield Leader in the Star Ledger, and filed with the clerk of the town of Westfield. Ms. Lushy, may I have a roll call?
Mayor Brindle?
Here.
Council members Havegood?
Here.
Parmalee? LaGrippo? Katz?
Here.
Mackey? Here. Contract? Here. Dardia? Root?
Here.
Please rise for the invocation, give my counsel and contract, and remain standing for the salute.
We seek blessings on the tasks before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jim.
Just have one comment tonight, Mayor, about the lights. So it's very bright here. For many, many years, I've been coming to this room for about 30 years, and it's always been very dark. So now we have the opposite. It's very bright. This is the first of two-phase installations. So the lights are in. There's some adjustments to these pendant lights that will be made in a few weeks. A little bit too low now. And then, of course, there'll be some new controls put in where we actually have the ability to dim all the lights, whereas right now we don't have that ability. But this is, the improvements to the room are slowly wrapping up, and it does make a big difference. So yeah, very bright tonight, but in a few weeks we'll have better control over the lights. So.
And the previous lights have been saved and they're being repurposed, right?
Yeah, so the lights that were here were nothing to save. The actual chandeliers that are in the room, those have been saved. We actually going to figure out how we can repurpose them in some way, but they're all saved, including other lighting in other parts of the building too. Anything that was original to the building we've saved. So
great, thank you, Jim.
Thanks. Yeah, sure.
So good evening, everybody. For those of you that are both here in person and online, I just remind everybody that public comment will be accepted in person only, and we are live streaming for viewing only, and the replay is always available. I do have a few topics of public interest that I wanted to discuss tonight before we get into the agenda. Well, the first and very important one is regarding PSC&G. You may have read about the outcome of a recent lawsuit. As I communicated in my update last Friday, we are recently notified of a decision issued in favor of PSC&G in the litigation they filed against the town in April of 2022. And they were challenging the adoption of General Ordinance number 2022-04, which was passed by this council on February 22nd, 2022. And the ordinance, which was drafted with significant input from the Code Review and Town Property Committee, as well as with input from resident attorney David Krieger of the No Monster Power Lines Advocacy Group. It provides standards and regulations for how our public rights-of-way are used by utility companies and telecommunications providers so that work can be better managed. And as you'll recall, PSC&G initially attempted to implement a plan for a 69 kV upgrade that routed these poles through residential neighborhoods on the south side of town in early 2019. After significant pushback from this administration, our residents and business owners and other neighboring impacted municipalities, PSC&G pivoted to considering other proposed routes, including portions of South and Central Avenue, as well as a feasibility study to use a route along the Conrail rail line. And then they ultimately placed this project on indefinite hold in late 2019. We maintained throughout these discussions that there were significant open questions that hadn't yet been addressed, and that this administration would use all legal options at its disposal to prevent this project from being routed through Westfield. As we communicated last year, following the introduction of that ordinance, PSC&G reached out to the town regarding their concerns with the ordinance and their intention to revisit 69 kV upgrade plans through the town. We had several subsequent conversations, including with leaders of other adjoining towns, and reiterated our fundamental objection to this project and questioning its necessity. As discussions continued, the lawsuit was apparently filed by PSC&G to preserve their ability to challenge the ordinance under the short period that they are allowed by law. While the judge's ruling, which was issued by former Westfield Town Council member Mark Shiroka, it left in place the comprehensive regulation of the public rights of way. We believe that the court's decision striking down portions of the ordinance as it relates to PSE&G was wrong. In light of this, the town intends to appeal this decision to the appellate courts. We continue to maintain that this project does not need to be, nor should it be, routed anywhere through Westfield. And since I issued my update on Friday, I've been informed by PSE&G, I've had multiple conversations with them, that they do intend to move forward with this project expeditiously, with the proposed route along Central Avenue and on South Avenue from Central Avenue into Scotch Plains. I've been in touch multiple times with Senator Bramnick, who continues to be supportive of our position, and we are hopeful that the court will hear our appeal in a timely manner. In the meantime, I, along with Town Administrator Jim Gilday, Town Attorney Tom Jardine, and a few others in the administration will be meeting with senior executives from PSE&G later this week to obtain the latest details of their plans as our appeal process continues in parallel. I just want to reassure all of our residents that we will continue to defend vigorously the town's interests and the public right-of-way in order to secure the best possible outcome for our community. So needless to say, the judge's decision was a disappointment from all of us. You know, we'll see where the appeal goes, and hopefully we'll find a reasonable crew with PSE&G executives on Thursday to find a path forward. So we'll keep everybody posted and be as transparent and commit to being as transparent as we can be as it relates to this project. So more to come. On better news, I am pleased to report on the timely passage of a series of crime bills by the State Assembly and Senate this past week that are intended to combat motor vehicle thefts and related crimes. Summit Mayor Nora Radis and I have led an effort to produce a joint statement of support among Union County mayors, which we expect to publish this week, urging Governor Murphy to sign these bills into law. It's important for residents to know that these bills extend sentences for repeat offenders, organized criminal networks that traffic in stolen cars and parts, and gang members who steal cars to use in shootings or other crimes. These are necessary and urgent first steps in combating car thefts that have become an all too common daily occurrence for our residents. And while this legislation is a productive step, we also maintain that an additional necessary component is to ensure that prosecutors charge criminals accordingly, and that our courts hold these repeat criminals accountable with the appropriate consequences. So to that end, we are also requesting a meeting with the Union County Prosecutor's Office to discuss our collective experiences across our municipalities, along with our police chiefs, so that we work together towards much needed progress on this front. So again, I will keep everybody updated, but we hope that this will be a great step in the right direction to provide our police and prosecutors with the tools they need to really to mitigate many of the repeat offenses that we're experiencing here in Westfield. And on a separate matter regarding Edison Fields, as an update to the remarks that Town Attorney Tom Jardine provided at our last meeting related to the Edison Fields petition, the town clerk completed the legally required review of the submitted petition signatures and determined that it contains at least the minimum number of qualified voter signatures required. A certification of sufficiency of petition was then completed by the town clerk on June 22nd, stating that the petition contains the significant signatures that require the placement on the ballot at the next general election. So there are a few other statutory steps that we'll need to take to schedule that election on the ordinance, which will be addressed in the coming weeks. And again, we'll keep everybody posted, but we anticipate that it will be on the general election ballot in November. And I also just want to reiterate, always grateful for the public participation in the process. I think many of us feel really comfortable with the process and the decision to move forward on this project, voted on by two governing bodies at the Board of Ed and the schools, and I hope the public will make the effort to support this, what's in the best interest for our kids this November. On tonight's agenda, we have several legislative items, which include ordinances on second reading to approve about $540,000 in capital improvements and installing a four-way stop sign at the corner of Prospect and Copperthwaite. We'll also hear an ordinance on first reading to approve the salary ranges for both part-time and full-time positions in the new CWA contract as per recently concluded negotiations. There are also resolutions to approve the purchase of a replacement fire hose and to approval for a grant application with the New Jersey Department of Transportation to pave a portion of Elm Street as part of the 2024 road paving program. And we're also introducing an ordinance to establish residential roof decks. I'm actually going to ask Councilman Contract, who's Vice Chair of the Code Review and Town Property Committee, to give a little background on that particular ordinance.
Sure, Mayor. This ordinance presents revisions to the requirement for roof decks provision in the land use ordinance based upon recommendations from the master plan reexamination, which allows for residential roof decks above the third story in the CBD and GBD1 zone districts. These roof decks would allow residents and their guests an increased opportunity to provide an open-air amenity for themselves and visitors, including the opportunity to create rooftop gardens. As you may recall, we were originally going to introduce this ordinance at our April 25th council meeting, but decided to revisit it after considering additional changes to mitigate potential neighborhood impact. Tonight, it's on the agenda on first reading with modifications that have been made by the Code Review and Town Property Committee based on the concerns that were raised by residents and some of us on the council prior to its first introduction a couple months ago. These revisions include: the ordinance makes super clear that these regulations apply to the CBD and GBD1 zone districts, basically the downtown. It prohibits residential tenants from placing cooking areas, pools, hot tubs, audiovisual equipment, or live entertainment on a rooftop. Roof decks are to be used solely for seating. It includes a new provision that lighting, design, and installations are shielded to prevent undue illumination on neighboring properties. It also shortens the times on which the rooftops may be used, ending at 10 o'clock, which coincides with all of our noise ordinances, rather than 11. So I think these changes really do reflect the feedback that was received back in April. The next step, if it passes tonight, will be to forward the ordinance to the planning board for their review and comment, and then it'll come back to the council.
Thank you, Councilman. And I do want to just remind everybody that there currently is no prohibition of rooftops in residential neighborhoods at the moment. So if they could exist in residential neighborhoods if they so chose currently. So this is really nothing that's not consistent and actually more regulated than what exists today in residential areas. So with that, let's move on to the agenda tonight. Ms. Lashy, are there any advertised hearings?
Yes, Mayor, we have two advertised hearings tonight, starting with special ordinance number 2023-04, capital ordinance of the town of Westfield in the county of Union, state of New Jersey, authorizing making of various public improvements and acquisitions in, by, and for the town, appropriating therefore the sum of $540,066 and providing that such sum so appropriated shall be raised from the capital improvement fund of the town. Anyone wishing to be heard on special ordinance number 2023-04, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, Mayor, you may close the hearing.
This hearing is closed.
Next is general ordinance number 2023-25, an ordinance to amend the code of the town of Westfield, chapter 13. Anyone wishing to be heard on general ordinance number 2023-25, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, and thank you. Madam Mayor and council members, my name is Nicole Harding Ostron. I'm at 653 Lenox Avenue. As parents, we do our best to educate and ensure a culture of safety and awareness in our children, where everyone understands their responsibilities as friends and engaged citizens. That, of course, includes the importance of adhering to traffic regulations and always looking both ways as they cross the street. As the parents of a student at Roosevelt Intermediate School in particular, it's an age where we teach them this and at the same time try to foster their independence by encouraging them to walk with their friends. It is in this spirit that I respectfully ask that the council vote in favor of improving the safety of the crosswalk at Prospect and Copperwaith with the four-way stop, not only to make a lasting impact on the safety of our children and Westfield pedestrians, but also to show our children that we are capable of doing the exact same thing that we ask of them, to look after one another with compassion and kind responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Cheryl Psycho, 215 Charles Street, and that's Psycho with an S. Thank you for making this hearing available this evening. As a local Westfield realtor, I drive through that intersection of Prospect and Copperthwaite quite often. As a 30-year resident of Westfield, I walk through it even more so, especially on a nice day over to Mindawaskan. However, tonight I'm here remembering a neighbor, and her name was Donna Rothstein, and she was introduced to me through a friend, and she called me and said, hey, I know you're a resident, is Westfield a great place to live? I said, Westfield is a great place to move to. I absolutely love it. There's so much going on here. I too have a child in the school system because she was coming in with a child, and I said, it's a great experience, and I welcome you as a neighbor. And she moved to Westfield, and she was living a great, great life here. She, like me, liked to take walks, and on one evening, she took a walk with her husband, and they went to Mindawaskan, and on the return, as they were crossing Prospect, they were hit by a Range Rover, and unfortunately, the injuries she sustained, even after being medevaced to the hospital for a trauma center, it cost her life, and that intersection is so haphazard. I personally have witnessed more near misses. People sometimes from out of town think it's already a four-way stop, and they slam on the brakes with nearly someone slamming into the back of them. Like Nicole, I see the middle schoolers coming from Roosevelt haphazardly, excited, all talking to each other, going to step out only to realize that the cars necessarily see them and aren't stopping. So I urge you to pass this evening. I don't think you want to lose a neighbor, a friend, or a family member. I thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Sharon Stockwell, 100 Nelson Place. I'm here this evening to thank you very much for putting forward a vote on creating a four-way stop for Cowperthwaite and Prospect Street. I live right there. My house is 2 houses away from that intersection. And over the last 21 years, I have heard accidents there, and I've also witnessed accidents there. In 2004, I was actually involved in an accident there as a third party. I was sitting at a stop sign. 2 people came through confused and hit each other. And then one of the cars turned and spun and then creased the left side of my car while I was just sitting there at the stop sign waiting. So that was in 2004. And then in 2014, my friend and my neighbor, Donna Rothstein, was hit by a car. And you just heard Cheryl talk about what happened. That was actually in February. It was the first weekend in February. It actually happened on Super Bowl Sunday. So we were in our porch watching the Super Bowl game and saw all of the lights that were there for a very, very long time, the emergency services that were there. Donna was a friend of mine. Donna loved Westfield. She really was always very enthusiastic to volunteer. I knew Donna from working on different committees, and she was always available, always there to lend a helping hand. Not only was it a tragedy for her family when she was hit by the car and killed, but it was a real loss for the community of Westfield because they lost an active participant who gave of herself freely and frequently to the town of Westfield. So not only do we need this four-way stop sign to improve safety and be part of, an overall improvement for that area, but I think we also need to vote to pass this to honor Donna and to honor what she meant to our community. Thank you.
Seeing no further comments, Mayor, you may close the hearing.
This hearing is closed. Councilman Hapgood, please move for the adoption of special ordinance number 2023-04.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move for the adoption of special ordinance number 2023-04 on second reading, capital ordinance of the Town of Westfield in the County of Union, New Jersey, authorizing the making of various public improvements and acquisitions in, by, and for the town, appropriating therefore the sum of $540,066, and providing that such sum so appropriated shall be raised from the capital improvement fund of the town.
May I have a second? Second by Councilman Mackey. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Hapgood,
Yes.
Katz,
Yes.
Mackey? Yes. Contract?
Yes.
Root?
Yes.
Mayor Bindle?
Yes, this motion has carried. Councilman Root, please move for the adoption of general ordinance number 2023-25.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I would like to move for the adoption of General Ordinance Number 2023-25 on second reading, an ordinance to amend the Code of the Town of Westfield, Chapter 13.
May I have a second? Any discussion? I would just like to thank the neighbors that
Yep.
came out, and remembering your neighbor Donna. I'd like to thank Councilman Root
Yeah,
as
thank
Chair of
you.
the Public Safety Committee.
Yeah, thank you all for coming out so much, and Nicole, your words about your children, and Cheryl and Sharon. We didn't know Miss Rothstein, but this just is so much more meaningful that we're passing this tonight, so thank you. Thank you so
And
much.
I do want to just sometimes educate the public a little bit about process, because one thing I learned when I became mayor, there are certain things that you think are just so obvious. Like, why wasn't a four-way stop put in there, years ago? I think if it was up to us, it would have been there in 2018. I had one near my house that was a similar, luckily not the fatality that you experienced, but I think it's a no-brainer. And then you learn about traffic warrants, and you learn about requirements by the state and thresholds that have to be met in order to allow for a four-way stop. And so finally, thanks to the persistence, I think, of our Public Safety Committee, and certainly with Councilman Mike Darty, and then now with Councilman Root, really, this has always been on the agenda, and we finally met the traffic warrants to allow it to happen. So we're thrilled to deliver this safety for the community and for your neighborhood in particular. And certainly we'll be thinking about Donna as we pass this tonight. So with that, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Hapgood,
Yes.
Katz,
Yes.
Mackey? Yes. Contract?
Yes.
Root?
Yes.
Mayor Bindle?
Yes, this motion has carried. May I have a motion, and actually one question, so Jim, what is the timing of the installation? So,
Just gonna make sure, since we have people in the audience tonight,
Yeah.
maybe people watching. So this gets adopted tonight, it actually finally becomes law on Thursday when it's published in the paper, the official paper of the town. So as of Thursday, it becomes law, and Public Works will be out probably next week. This will require addition of new stop signs on the through street right now, which is Prospect. It'll also require some new striping, updated striping, so that'll happen in the next probably 2 weeks. And then we'll probably have some social media posts about letting people know that this is now a new traffic pattern. It's a hard place to put signage, a very thin roadway area, so normally we'd have message board signing, but it's a tough place for that, but we'll have it. But I think the comments that you heard, and I drive through that intersection every single day, and people already think it's a four-way stop, many cases. So I think this will be a helpful thing. But yeah, probably 2 weeks or less, we'll have the proper striping and signage installed.
excellent.
Sure.
Long time coming. Thank you.
Okay, so may I have a motion to approve the minutes from the Town Council Conference and regular meetings of June 13th, 2023? So moved by Councilman Mackey, second? Seconded by Councilman Contract. Any discussion? All in favor? Yes. Opposed? This motion is carried. Now it's time for open discussion by citizens. Anyone may come up to the microphone and speak to the council on any subject on which we have jurisdiction. Please state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 5 minutes. Hearing none, I close this portion of the meeting and move to bills and claims. Councilman Hapgood.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move bills and claims in the amount of $337,292.41.
May I have a second? Second by Councilman Katz. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? This motion is carried. Next on the agenda is reports of standing committees, beginning with the Finance Policy Committee. Councilman Hapgood.
Thank you again, Mayor. I have 9 resolutions to move as a package. The first, a resolution authorizing the CFO to draw a warrant for dog licenses for May 2023. Second, a resolution authorizing the CFO to refund Recreation Department fees. 3, a resolution authorizing the CFO to draw a warrant for Board of Adjustment and Planning Board application fees. 4, a resolution authorizing the CFO to draw a warrant to refund alarm registration fee. 5, a resolution to award contract for the acquisition of a fire hose for the Westfield Fire Department. 6, a resolution to award contract for the acquisition and installation of mobile shelving for the Planning, Zoning, and Engineering Departments. 7, a resolution to approve insertion of a special item of revenue in the municipal budget for a national opioid settlement. 8, a resolution to approve insertion of a special item of revenue in the municipal budget for public health capacity. And 9, a resolution to approve insertion of special item of revenue in the municipal budget for vaccination supplemental funding.
May I have a second? Second by Councilman Contract. Any discussion?
Just to say yay.
Yeah,
3
exactly, yay.
insertions of revenue tonight.
Yeah. Like,
And the second to last one is significant.
yeah, how much?
It's
Tell
500
Jim, tell him how
almost-
much that
yeah.
is.
So I think it's important to note that all 3 of these revenue items tonight really touch the Board of Health, and ultimately will touch the services we provide to residents, and not only in Westfield, but we're a regional health department. So the 3 different amounts tonight, $6,000 and change for another payment for the national opioid settlement, which every town's getting in some way, shape, or form. And we're saving that money for mental health services that'll go through the Board of Health. The public health capacity grant is over $495,000. And the vaccination supplemental grant is $35,000. These are not small numbers, and these will go to offset either additional supplemental staff or services that the Board of Health will actually serve the public. So it's really significant dollars.
Over $540,000. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Worth
Did you already
pausing on.
second that, Councilman Hapgood? I think someone did. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? This motion has carried.
And I'd like to move General Ordinance number 2023-26 on first reading, an ordinance to amend the Code of the Town of Westfield, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, Town Officers and Employees, Division 3, Personnel Positions and Salary Schedules, Section 2-12.28, Schedule.
May I have a second? Second by Councilman Katz. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Hapgood,
Yes.
Katz,
Yes.
Mackey. Yes. Contract,
Yes.
Root,
Yes.
Mayor Bindle.
Yes, this motion is carried. Next is code review. Councilman Contract.
I'd like to move a resolution to approve the annual renewal of the alcoholic beverage liquor licenses.
May I have a second? Second by Councilman Mackey. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Absolutely. Opposed? Please. This motion has carried.
I'd also like to move general ordinance number 2023-27 on first reading, an ordinance to amend the land use ordinance of the town of Westfield to establish requirements for residential roof decks within the CBD and GB1 zone districts.
May I have a second? Second by Councilman Mackey. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Hapgood,
Yes.
Katz,
Yes.
Mackey. Yes. Contract,
Yes.
Root,
Yes.
Mayor Bindle.
Yes, this motion is carried. Next is Public Works. Councilman Katz.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 2 resolutions I'd like to move as a package. First is, I would like to move a resolution to submit a grant application and execute a grant agreement with the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the 2024 Elm Street Improvements Project. The second is a resolution to purchase zero-turn mowers for the Department of Public Works.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Root. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? This motion has carried. And, Councilman Mackey wants to make a little announcement. Sorry, I should have done that.
I know, it's okay.
Sorry about that.
This is good news. I just want to remind everybody that Sweet Sounds is coming back July 11th. I think we'll be up here, but everybody else should enjoy it. And Shakespeare in the Park is back at Foundation Park for the second year, and it is a disco version of Midsummer. So we should put that on our calendars for
What's the date?
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, August 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Fun. And soon. Tickets will be on sale soon. May I have a motion to adjourn? So moved by Councilman Contract. Second? Second by Councilman Hapgood. All in favor? Opposed? This motion is carried, and this meeting is adjourned. Good night, everybody.